What's new in the world, my people? My name is Cyblade, and welcome back to Monster Hunter Iceborne, and today we're going to be doing the new Monster Hunter movie special event. What was that? I gotta fight Fatalis again to actually show you guys the fight and how he attacks and all of his moves and stuff. Oh, nope! Alright, everyone. So, I promised I'd show you what Fatalis was all about and actually fight him and tell you about all of his moves, so it's finally time. But before that, prep time. The things you're absolutely going to need before you go into battle against the Black Dragon. Number 1, Farcasters. Make sure you have a lot of them because you're gonna need them. In all honesty, most of his attacks are easier to just fly away from with a Farcaster rather than actually stay and try to avoid them properly. Next, Dash Juice. The last thing you're gonna want is to run out of stamina and be left at his mercy, because there is no mercy. And some skills you're gonna want, above all else, heavy artillery for the very beginning, and destroyer skills. You want to break those parts, especially the head. We gotta listen to Thanos, everybody.
You should have gone for the head.
And recovery is also a good idea because you want to get health back as fast as you can, because every hit you take is gonna take most of your health. So you want to recover all the red you can as fast as you can. Now, I know I made his attack sound crazy, like almost like there's no way to predict him or, figure out what he's gonna do when, like there's no way to, how you're possibly gonna know how to avoid his attacks, but that might be just a bit extreme. He's actually fairly predictable. It would not be nearly as bad of a fight as it is if it was just simply to, figure out his attacks and avoid them. He's very predictable. His attacks have big wind-ups and everything. You will know what he's gonna do, but the simple fact of avoiding what he's gonna do is the biggest problem. So step 1, you've probably seen this in any other How to Fight Fatalis video, of which there are many and quite a bit better than mine. I'm not gonna claim this is gonna be like the best one or anything, but it's just mine. They mostly tell you how to avoid the attack. I'll just simply be telling you how BS the attack itself is. But for now, advantages starting the fight. This is where the heavy artillery skill comes in. You're going to want to put on the ghillie mantle so he can't see you, then load up these cannons and unload on him. Too far. One push to the left really ought to do it. I don't know why I went for 2. But anyways, so yeah. And unload all these on him. That's going to be some good damage right off the start. Now quickly moved to the next cannon and unload on him with this one. That's gonna bring him down instantly, and now you attack. I should have used the dash juice for this because as all dual blade players should, dash juice is essential for dual bladers, even when not against Fatalis, but especially against him. Oh, crap. Should have turned him. Oh, wait. Nope, still got him. I didn't think that was going to work. Okay. So, there's two different ways of flint-shotting Fatalis with... Oh. Temporal Mantle. That's going to be a must in this fight, by the way. When he's standing on his hind legs and you flint shot him, that'll just bring him down to 2 legs. When he is on 4 legs, that's ideally the time to flint shot him and send him into a wall for maximum damage. But okay, now, like I said, you're here to hear about Fatalis' moves and what to do against them, not simply from my rambling. Let's start off with his physical moves, since they're the easiest to counter, predict, and evade. He has not that many, really. That's probably the easiest part, but still a bit complex. The first, his charging forward biting. Well, he has 2 biting attacks, but one for when you're up here on the high ground, he'll have just your standard bite. This is not too bad. Honestly, maybe a quarter of your health. I wouldn't even waste a potion on this. When he's on the ground and charges forward and snaps at you, it'll do a bit more. But it's pretty easy to dodge. Just move out of his way. Run to the left or right, and you'll be fine. As long as you don't do the Prometheus school of running away from things. Next, he has a simple belly flop body slam. You'll be able to know when he's doing this because he tends to take a step backwards. Again, pretty easy to notice when it's coming. The problem is, if he's standing on his hind legs and preparing to do this, you might be in the middle of an animation and attacking. For instance, the demon dance with the dual blades, in which case you will not escape the attack. So be very mindful when he's on his hind legs of what he's doing and when. And lastly, above all else, his tail. Dear God, the tail. It is easily his most deadly physical appendage. The sweeping attack you've just seen is nightmarish. It is long-reaching. It reaches the full 180 degrees from his left all the way to his right. That's behind him, and honestly, even further than that. It really stretches. It can even hit a bit in front of him. Its full radius is not exactly 360, but it's close. It's Pac-Man when he has his mouth fully open. A bit more than 180 from left to right. Your best and really only bet to avoid it is to get directly in front of Fatalis as quickly as you can, risky as that may be. Second, he has a tail slam. It's a simple attack and easy to dodge, but no less dangerous. Easily, half your health will be wiped out if you are hit by this attack. When you see him raise up his tail, run. That is all I have to say. Simply run. Be anywhere other than directly behind him where the tail will slam down. And I know what you might be thinking. Now, what if I just run back real far for... Now I know what you're thinking. What if I just run back real far and get out of the tail's reach? Oh, you sweet, sweet, innocent child. There is no out of the tail's reach. It is as long as a blue whale. There is no running out of its reach. Its reach is all. The only way to get out of its reach is to move in front of it where it can't bend that far. And I did forget to mention it does have a small front paw claw swipe attack that many other monsters have, but just like with those many other monsters, it's merely a simple case of just jumping back or blocking if you're one of the weapon types that can block. And while it's much later on down the fight, it also has a jumping, like, pounce attack. But again, pretty simple. You only just have to not be in the way. Just a simple couple rolls to the side ought to do. But now, on to the big part. The fire attacks. Now, of course, he has his standard fireballs. These are easy.
Ironic.
These are easy enough to dodge as long as you have stamina. A simple dash will get you out of range, and oh no. But now it's time for, in addition to moving on to the subject from physical attacks to fireballs, it's also time to switch equipment from the ghillie mantle, which you needed for the beginning assault with the cannons, to the assassin's hood, which more than doubles your running speed, allowing you to escape just about anything Fatalis can throw at you, so it's very convenient. I highly recommend it. But now, like I said, onto the fire attacks. He has the standard fireballs that most other monsters do, such as Rathalos and Rathian. In fact, his attacks very much are similar to theirs. He either shoots one long-ranged fireball or 3 shorter-ranged fireballs. At various angles. But they're easy enough to dodge if, once again, if and only if you have the stamina to do so. Otherwise, they, like many of his other attacks, will be quite BS and hard to dodge when they explode shortly after being fired or reaching their maximum range. This brings us to another one of the points of why Fatalis is such a BS fight. Many of his fire attacks have an explosion directly following them, so they are, well, quite difficult to avoid. Next we have his slightly more advanced fire. Next we have his slightly more advanced fire stream. That's not it, but also a dangerous attack. Sadly, I can't really get Fatalis to do the... Oh, there! Now what I'm not talking about... Yes, he sprays a simple fire at the ground, which somehow spreads across the ground for halfway across the entire arena, leaving a wide berth of flames to avoid, as the final patch of fire where they end will explode for maximum damage. See? There is no escaping the tail swipe by running out of its range. Now, with his fire attacks come the knowledge of these two studs of rock in the ground across the arena. Befriend those rocks. Get to know them. Be close to them, because they are your best hope for surviving many of Fatalis' attacks. They can block the fireballs, and most importantly, they can block his infamous cone of fire, the most BS attack, arguably, of all his attacks. Oh, of course, Ray on the temple wore off. Also, I should say, although this is somewhat hard to control, try to get a member, a bow or bow gun user on your team for this mission. The only times I have come close to succeeding, and the only time I did succeed on this mission, was due to having a bow wielder who could hit Fatalis in the head, his most vulnerable spot, and which is vital to weaken and break for when towards the end of the mission. But with that, back to his fire attacks. I told you of the fireballs and the fire floor. Now comes the streams of fire. First is a standard shoot at the floor and extend outwards breaths, a straight line of fire. This is troublesome but relatively easy to deal with. Simply, once again, sidestep or roll out of the way. Even a single roll should see you to safety. Then comes another fire breath aimed straight down, but this time he continues to aim straight down. This is both one of his easiest and most devastating attacks at the same time. Quite paradoxical, I know. But do not believe you are always safe behind those rocks, as that particular fire breath attack can be stopped, or will not be stopped by the rock. Oh my goodness, why is it letting me go down at that moment? Okay. Stay on the wing, Drake, do not jump down. I thought it would not permit you to drop at this moment, but apparently it will. So, if you are allowed to drop at that moment, do not do that. Now, you have entered phase 2 of the fight, where Fatalis will begin to fly. And the roaming ballista is active for massive damage. This, again, is paramount for having the heavy artillery skill equipped, so that you may do extra damage. A personal strategy I found that I like to use is that binders are also unlocked to freeze Fatalis momentarily, as I just did. With that in mind, I combine the roaming ballista with the binders, bringing it over here and getting Fatalis to turn towards this area while I have binders equipped and shooting him to keep him in place, unable to attack, and with his head in perfect attacking range for the roaming ballista. At this point, it should be easy to break a part of his head. If you do it correctly. It does take some work, but I think the risk is worth the reward. Moving back to his fire attacks now, we have the big ones. Are you kidding me? I was out of range. So as I was saying earlier, he has this straight downward breath towards his crotch. I guess he likes having a warm crotch at all times. For this one, simply run away. You have to run far away, but about 2 dashes worth of distance should see you safe. I know you might be thinking, what if I attack him from behind? No, you foolish child, no. You will still be in range, and you will die from that fire.
And that's
Good to know.
It's as I said, it's easy to see his attacks coming, but the sheer area of effect they each have is simply obscene and unfair. It is not okay. And now, the infamous, the devastating Cone of Flame. This is where you need the Farcaster because, he does have a few more breath attacks where he randomly sprays fire around everywhere that I'd also recommend. As soon as you see him just moving his head around with flames coming from his mouth, I would generally throw down a Farcaster, but that could just be me being a coward. But back to the Cone of Fire. This is where you truly need the 2 studs of rock in the ground. Because they are, along with the cannon tower thing there, but that's very temporary. Fatalis cannot get down himself if he attacks it too many times, and it will most certainly be gone otherwise when he does his first super ultimate fire attack. So try to always be near these studs of rock, as not as unviable as that may be. I would under normal circumstances, I would not limit your proximity to such a small area, but when it comes to that fire attack, there are very few options. Unless you have a weapon that can guard, such as the lance or possibly the greatsword. I haven't seen any videos of anyone using the greatsword to block the attack, but otherwise, don't count it out though. But other weapons most certainly can block it, and will even create safe areas for your allies behind themselves if and when you do block the attack. So that's nice. Just kind of sucks for the at least 6 weapons that cannot block. Putting you at an immediate disadvantage depending on your weapon, which is not okay. I do not believe that's a good concept. But clearly no one asked me. If there was a feedback option for getting Fatalis in the game or changing it, I would either have its whole moveset changed or just have it removed from the game. But a lot of people seem to like it, so that's probably not happening. So again, for that move in particular, and many of his other fire moves where he's roaming his head everywhere and spraying fire, use Farcasters to escape. And I missed this earlier, but he also has a fire attack where he shoots a point-blank fireball, creates an explosion, and jumps into the air, then flies forward. It's a rough one, but again, no harder to dodge. Just roll away from the initial attack and then run when he leaps and dives. Also try to Superman dive as much as you can. That's pretty much half of this fight, in all honesty. And of course, you've seen it a few other times in this fight. It's too difficult to get to talk about it as it's happening, but the infamous supernova, as they're calling it. I thought that's just the name of Teostra's attack, but I guess that's what they're calling it for Fatalis too. Anyways, it's a massive version of the already annoying cone flame attack that this time the small rocks cannot save you from. Your only options are hiding in that small area of the broken bell thing, whatever exactly it is. Then the gate after Fatalis breaks it to start phase 2. This destroys both things that you initially used to block it. So now your only hope left is to, whenever Fatalis uses it, is to just run directly under where he is currently flying. One more reason why the Assassin's Hood is absolutely 100% necessary for that point in time, because otherwise you stand very little chance of making it before Fatalis shoots off to fire. Of course, there is a small window of mercy where the fire simply takes away small little bits of your health, but odds are you're likely at low health anyway, so even this small tick is deadly. In the special assignment, it's somewhat easier, of course, as you're given 5 continues to the mere 3 of this pathetic event quest, or the pathetic 3 of this event quest. Anything with the Fatalis isn't pathetic, of course, but you get what I mean. 3 tries is not enough. For the cone fire, I did forget to mention, even when if you're far back enough, near Fatalis' head, it is a good chance to get in some free hits to his face. But also be wary, as to screw you over as much as humanly possible, they added in a point-blank explosion area that will blow up directly under where his head was and right next to where you most likely are. So be wary of this as well. Also, in the special assignment version, as I was saying, it's made somewhat more bearable by the fact that you have the glorious Chad, known as the excitable A-lister, backing you up with his giant bow gun and constant dusts of life.
He's my hero!
But sadly, they decide to screw you over quickly, as they execute your dear beloved best friend, or as I would hope he's your best friend at this point. He's more than earned himself that position. Because he has to sacrifice himself for you in order for you to make it behind the bell of safety before Fatalis' flames reach it. Like I said, his moves themselves aren't too bad. Like, you know, the figuring them out, predicting them, understanding them is not difficult. But the simple range of each attack, how far it reaches, how far back you have to be in order to avoid it, and the range of the explosions that are constantly happening is just simply too much in my mind. It feels like they really are just trying to make Fatalis as unfair as possible. I'm sure you could reason, like, you know, I understand he is supposedly the strongest monster in all of existence, so him being as strong as possible makes sense. I could understand that, and again, even if he still hit as hard as he did, it wouldn't be that bad if his moves simply didn't have the ridiculous area and reach that they do have. Again, the power behind the attacks, even 1 to 2 shotting you, would still be manageable if the attack range was simply lessened. Because as they currently stand, the explosions are far too big. How far his flames reach is just unrealistic and is impossibly difficult to escape, and his tail attacks are just absurd. I believe it's just entirely too much. Either make his attacks weaker or take away some of their range, but something has to be done, because while yes, I understand there are people that supposedly solo Fatalis regularly and have killed hundreds of them, from what I've seen on Facebook. I've seen the claims, but there's still plenty of people like me that seem to barely be able to scratch the surface. Master rank and Hunter rank 999 still being slaughtered like low rank hunters. It's just unreal, unfair, and it's just not okay in my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you like how he is? Do you think he's too much? Do you think they could have made him worse? I'd love to hear whatever you got to say on the subject. But in the end, I think that Fatalis was a cool idea, but whenever I see him, whenever I go up against him, my hunting experience is exactly like what Shrade is now. It's in ruins. But, again, that's all I have to say. What about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and thank you all so much for watching. If you like this and want to see more, go ahead and slash that subscribe button. If you like this video, give a quick cut to the like button. Like I said, comment down below. And be sure to follow me on Facebook. Then I'll see you in the next video. But until then, my people, stay sharp. And stay away from Fatalis. Oh my god.